Well, you are so invited. You are so invited. You are so invited to experience this spiritual reality of abundance. Abundance as plenty and opulence and prosperity and supply, and to experience it so deeply that you have an even deeper connection to the spiritual truth of your own nature, that you are more attuned to the divinity that is within you, that is driving your desires, and you are so invited to have your life circumstances up-level and change in alignment with that truth. You're invited. Will you accept the invitation? Yes, wonderful. All right, that was a big yes. All right, good. Well, I'm Reverend Karen Russo. I'm a longtime member of the New Vision Center, and I get the delightful privilege of starting us off for our stewardship season, our adventures in abundance. And I'm just going to give you a little hint that the messages you hear all throughout this season are all about spiritual truth and the power of action. And you'll see that our messages are about the invitation, and the invitation is there, but you all say yes and accept it. So thank you for that. All right, so the yes, we've said the yes. So the yes is about going deeper into who you are, to be more connected with your reality. The yes is about expansion. So expansion has been a theme here at New Vision, and it's certainly it's a theme in a spiritual life, that life is progressive, that we grow, we develop, we unfold. So there's an element of expansion. And the yes is also about surrender. And surrender, to me, came through so clearly that when we say yes to what is powerful and yes to expanding, there's also something that we drop. We drop the prior ideas, we surrender, and life will surprise and delight us in unbelievable ways. So you said yes. Good. Let's begin. So the truth about you and me and all of us and we, the yes we're saying yes to, is that we are all co-creators with the infinite. And so that's a big part of this yes, that we are co-creators with the source of our own being. And I'm so glad that there are new people here with us today, and some of you I know are longtime Science of Mind or on the spiritual path, so you know about Ernest Holmes and this teaching, and some folks may be brand new. So I'm going to give us the context here for this idea of being co-creators with Source. So what you see here is the Science of Mind teaching symbol, which Science of Mind is a 100-year-old tradition and founded by Dr. Ernest Holmes, a compilation of the truths of religions, so the core essences of religious idea, the nature of God and the nature of humanity, philosophy, how does life get to be the way it is, and science, metaphysical laws, truths that we can test in our own lives. And our teaching symbol, the circle with the V in the center, is a beautiful compilation of those ideas. So the circle represents that life is a unified whole, that there is an infinite, loving, eternal supply that is ever giving. It is everywhere present, and it is the nature of who we are. We are one with it. And then the power that we have through free choice and the laws of life is that the way life gets created is through infinite ideas acted upon by consciousness through law become experience. And that descent of spirit into matter is part of our teaching, that we are co-creators, that our thought, our belief, and our ideas and our emotion create our experience. One of the things that's beautiful about our tradition is that this thing about the action piece is that creation also happens when we align ourselves through our actions and our circumstances with a consciousness that welcomes a bigger idea of abundance. And so I think it's a beautiful thing that you can create from circumstance into a deeper awareness of the divine, as well as to capture a new thought and have a new experience. All right, so you're a yes to all this? All right. One of the distinctions that I think is very useful for us to tune into in an abundance series is the distinction about spiritual source with a capital S and material channels, little m, little c. So spiritual source, infinite, eternal, intelligent, ever-giving. Material channels are the things that come and go in our experience. Material channels, generous, good-looking lovers. Material channels, a well-balanced portfolio. Material channels, a secure job with a great pension. Material channels, hard work and the willingness to do whatever it takes. Material channels, birthright citizenship in a certain country. Material channels, I want to be super respectful of material channels, but are you all catching? Material channels are things that come and go. And the challenge for us is if we think our spiritual security comes from a material channel, we will always be a little spiritually nervous. We will always be a little worried it's going to go away. And so I encourage us in this season, whether you are new to the teaching or whether you're a longtime practitioner of metaphysics and spirituality, is to realize, let us be respectful, excellent stewards of our material channels. We're grateful, we're respectful, we engage, we participate with material channels, but let us not forget that our spiritual security is from the truth of who we are. We are sourced by something divine. So I'll get a yes for that. Yes, 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 yes. So if there's any area of your life where you're having any, a place where you feel a little stuck, when sometimes I wonder, there was a time recently in the last years where I had this idea, well, I can always work hard. And it's like, yeah, you can always work hard until maybe one day you can't work hard, right? And I could see where I was thinking that my intellect or hard work, that was going to be my answer, my backup plan. But it's a material channel. And so really we want to just completely let go of that idea. And the reason for that is when we understand that we're sourced by the Spirit, the attitude we have toward our creative power is different. And Reverend Leslie Goodwin did a beautiful talk a couple of weeks ago about creativity as one of the gifts of heaven. And one of the things she reminded us of is that we exist as extensions of God consciousness. So when we understand who we are, I'm an extension of God consciousness, it just means that the experience of abundance is going to be something different, something new, something beyond the best of my past. All right. And so if you've said yes to Source and yes to who you are, we've also said yes to the idea of expansion. And so this is a month where it's tools aplenty here at the New Vision Center. And one of the wonderful resources we have is this book by Edwin Gaines, The 4 Spiritual Laws of Prosperity, Tithing, Forgiveness, Goals, and Divine Purpose. And this book, it's a modern day classic. Edwin Gaines is a Unity minister. She's been teaching prosperity for 50 years. I remember, hearing her for the first time 25, 30 years ago. And there was times when she would come and she would tell a story, and I knew how the story was going to go, but I was like laughing and in it the whole time anyway. She's a master of teaching the principle and giving you practical and engaging ways to understand it. So this is a book that will be part of the Adventures in Abundance class that Reverend Karen is teaching. It's a book I recommend folks to tune into just for all the juiciness that's there. And of course, tithing. giving thanks for the 100% that comes to us by leaving 10% behind, financially giving 10%. That's a classic spiritual practice and principle. Forgiveness, the release of shame and guilt and anger and resentment, particularly around money and abundance and opportunity. Setting goals, which is the difference between goals and magical thinking is a really important distinction. And then divine purpose, finding the work and contribution that is ours to do that represents giving with joy and making a difference. So those tools are all available to us. And I want to just, again, the encouragement is for each and every one of you and I and us, whether you're deep in New Vision Center or whether this is your own individual journey, find a tool this month that is one that you want to refresh your relationship to. So whether it's one of these or whether it's gratitude or prayer or sacred service, find a tool that maybe something you've done before, but how can you have a new relationship to it so that you can experience an even deeper sense of abundance? And for me, I went back to thinking, a couple things have come through about tithing. So I went back and I found the documented evidence of the year that I started tithing. And so for some people, this is a page from something called a Franklin Planner. Okay. All right. So before we did everything on our phones, we had stone tablets, and we jump, bump, bump. And then we had paper, and we kept our paper in notebooks, and those notebooks were called Franklin Planners. Some of us still have one. Okay. But from what I used to do, and it's adorbs that I still have these too, is I would do, for the year, I had the months of the year, and back then in the late 90s, I had the days that I would work and those estimates, and I had income and taxes and spending and all of that, and then savings was on there too. But girl, look at me, year 2000, all the way across, tithing, 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 tithing. And I really, so coming up next year, it'll be 25 years of tithing. I mean, you gotta love that, right? Yeah, yeah. And why this really touched me is I was at the Agape Center, I was in classes. I think the year 2000, I knew I would be graduating as a licensed professional practitioner. And one of the requirements of being a licensed professional practitioner, like the beloveds who serve us here at New Vision Center, was to have an identifiable financial, consistent spiritual giving. And I had heard about tithing before, and I think I hadn't been completely resistant to it, but I had not committed. And so this was like me saying to myself, my level of trust and faith is that I give 100% gratitude for the financial good that comes, and I will give 10% off the top to people, institutions, causes, and organizations where I feel spiritually fed, where I have a deeper sense of my relationship with God, with spirit, with life. So I've been tithing a long time, but tithing, I will tell you, it is something, and you know what's funny is that year, my income went up 20%. It's like, oh, you love it, you love it. The year you tithe, the income goes up. I'll also tell you that over the 25 years, we also, I got us involved in some residential real estate stuff that required forgiveness of myself. So I tithed even though things didn't always go like this, right? Because tithing keeps me in tune with the idea of giving and truth and abundance. And recently, I had this year some mother passed, some family inheritance, some investment things. So I had big tithes to give, which is a great opportunity, right? And I would, when something new came in, give thanks for the 100%, and I just go immediately to what's just happened that has been inspiring to me. And so tithing is a lesson in saying yes. I had a big tithes to give, and I was on a Zoom where there were some leaders of part of a spiritual movement who are handling a really challenging situation. And each of the three of them showed such commitment and love and service that I said, I'm going to give them personal tithes. So I reach out to one, and this is somebody I know, and I texted them, I'd like to give you a personal tithe. And this person came back and said, thank you, here's my Venmo. Yes. I reached out to the second person and said, I'd like to send you a personal tithe. And they said, yes, thank you. I like to write personal handwritten notes, so I've written you one. Here's a picture of it. Yes. The third person, I reached out and said, I'd like to send you a personal tithe. And they said, that's so sweet, but it's not necessary. That's so sweet, but it's not necessary. And I got to tell you, I had a little like, really? I had a little judgment. And so two things happened after that. I had a little judgment, and then I had this moment where I was like, Karen, nothing happens to you unless it happens through you. So where, if anywhere, in my life am I not saying yes to good that's wanting to come to me? And I had to look that just that week, someone had asked me to do a spiritual thing, and they'd started talking about how much they would pay me. And I came this close to saying, oh, you don't have, and I stopped myself. And I said, yes, thank you. The other thing that happened after that person said it's not necessary is then I thought, who else has inspired me? And a dear friend, she'd put out some beautiful election meditations that she is giving as a gift to the world, and she doesn't need any more financial good, but I was like, hey, I'm sending you a tithe. So I just want to say, in case anyone asks you, in case anyone says to you, I'd like to send you a personal tithe, I'm just hoping this group is going to respond with, yes. Okay, that's good, yes. So you can even practice that with your prayer partners and with each other. Like, yes, here's my Venmo. Yes, here's my Zelle. Just keep, okay. All right. Choose something this month that is going to be your tool, your specific that you are going to go deeper with. And I promise you, when you revisit these tools and say yes, something greater happens. You'll know I mentioned earlier that thing about goal setting. So my task for this month coming up, I will be working with goals. What I noticed in my own life is in various areas of abundance, sometimes I have ideas, like, I'd like to lose weight. Now, I don't want to really think about it or look at my own consciousness or stop eating crackers at night or change the way I eat or do anything that makes me uncomfortable or happy. Yeah, so this is not called a goal, spiritual goal. This is called magical thinking. So for me, in this month, if I want to have a more richly abundant experience of the nature of life, I'm going to work with goals. And one of the things Edwene Gaines says is specificity is responsibility. And I was like, I have been kind of vague and sort of interested in having some things shift. But if I really take on, I am going to have specific goals about the things, the experiences, and the outcomes I desire, and then really work with what is the consciousness I need to be in order to have that achievement or that experience, and at the same time, pray for this or something better. Like that specificity is going to really work me. All right. The final yes I wanted to let you know is that when you say all these yeses to abundance, life says yes to you. So we have an Ernest Holmes quote that I thought was just beautiful. Dr. Holmes says, think of yourself as being in partnership with this divine presence and its creative law. Learn to trust this presence as you trust the simple fact that you are living. Do not be afraid to throw yourself in complete abandonment and with perfect acceptance into its soft embrace. Complete abandonment and perfect acceptance into its soft embrace. So the final part of our yes is surrender. And when you surrender into abundance, you allow yourself to be surprised by something greater than the best of your past or the hopes of your future. So you remember I said it was back in the year 2000 I started tithing. One of the things that happened that year is there was, at the Agape Center in Los Angeles, there was a program kind of like our Gourmet for Gods, but they were having a bunch of parties for the spiritual community that were all happening at the same time, that were fundraisers. And if you gave at a certain amount, you could get to ride with the Rev. You know this is going to be a program we do at New Vision Center. You get to ride with the Rev. So there was the promise of a limo ride with Dr. Michael Beckwith to go to the various parties. And I kind of was like, I think I could tithe at that level, and I could give, and I want to ride with the Rev. So at that time, I was a single gal, and my life, it was growing and expanding, but there was something about it where I had some little rules. Like, I was always the one who drove my other girlfriends around to the support groups and the other things. I was always the one who kind of organized stuff. You know, no one, like, I didn't go anywhere unless I was the one driving and I was the one who had it organized. So here I come to ride with the Rev, and I parked my car at the spiritual center, and I had a pretty dress on, and I got out, and it turns out that the limo was like a rental car bus, but it was fine. It had a party atmosphere. And I get onto the thing, and I'm on the bus, and we start going to the parties, and I turn to the person next to me, and I said, I don't know where I am. I don't know where we're going. I'm not driving, and I'm so alive. Like, it was this simple moment where I realized that, like, if I was going to be the one kind of controlling everything, it could only get so big. And that moment of like a surrender, it was so symbolic, because that's when my life absolutely took off. And who knew that I would, and you know, it's just a series of wonderful things that I ended up being in this moment here with you today, with experiences I couldn't have imagined. So this is my final part of the invitation I'd invite you to accept, is to surrender. Yes, we want to know how the numbers have been in the past so we can see what the trajectory has been. It's important information. I've still got it in my Franklin planner in some version, right? And yes, we want to know what next year's budget for our family, our community, our country is, because that's important information as well. And if we surrender to the truth of who we are timeless beings. We are not bound by the past, nor having to figure out the future. In this precious moment, we are infinitely sourced by a loving presence, and that abundance will magnificently show up for us in ways we cannot imagine. So you've been given an invitation. Do you accept it? Yes, wonderful. Let's bring it to prayer. So let us pray. So how good it is for us to recognize that the infinite is always living, giving, and expressing in, through, and as each one of us, as abundance, as the wholeness, health, vitality of the body, and as the love and conviviality of relationship, as work and contribution that is meaningful, that makes a difference, and as all the money and supply that we could possibly need, want, and share. Abundance. It is a great reality in infinite vibration and in practical experience. And each one of us is one in the one with this infinite. And I am so grateful to know this. And from this area, from this foundation, from this knowledge, I speak a word. I claim and accept that for the New Vision Center, for each individual who hears this message now and forever, that there is a quickening of an acceptance of the truth of who we are, the nature of our co-creation power, and the surrender to a source that loves us in its soft and wonderful embrace. And so I give great thanks for the fruits of this prayer acted upon by law. I know that what is spoken is so. We release the word, I let it go, it is done, and together we say, and so it is.